how do you manage the contradictions of autism and ADHD? If you have both autism and ADHD, I don't need to tell you about the constant conflict going on in your brain. I'm sure you already know all too well. Autism, which I'll refer to as ASD, and ADHD have many overlapping symptoms, but they also have unique aspects to them. These aspects often contradict each other and make having both very challenging. So let's talk about those differences and let's talk about strategies that I use to cope with them that may help you as well. The first is concentration. ASD likes to concentrate on one task at a time, and ADHD frequently jumps from one task to another. Here's how this manifests for me. I find that certain tasks require my full attention and focus, and other tasks I need distraction or extra stimulation to get them done. But in either case, too much going on at any given time is a recipe for overwhelm and shutdown, no matter the type of task. I'm sure this is the case for a lot of people, but it's important to understand exactly what this looks like for you. Which tasks need your full attention and which do you need to multitask to complete? You really got to pay attention here to what's true for you, because there might be tasks that other people have told you require your full focus, and that may be true for them, but not true for you. I'll give you an example. In high school, my history teacher would get mad at me when I did my calculus homework in her class, because to her that meant I wasn't paying attention. I had a good grade in her class and had been doing this for months, but somehow that made sense to her. So when she brought this to me, I tried to explain to her that the only reason I was paying attention was because I was doing my calculus homework. She, of course, didn't get it and made me stop doing calculus in her class. Then when I couldn't do that other work during her lectures, I would doodle, I would daydream, I would fall asleep, I would completely zone out. No matter how much I wanted to pay attention, I just couldn't. And the thing is, when neurotypicals require you to do things to a neurotypical standard, you're the one who suffers. My grade fell and I had to find time outside of her class, time I didn't have, to get my homework done. She wasn't listening when I said I wanted to listen to her. I wanted to pay attention, but I needed to do something else at the same time. And I needed to do something that was stimulating enough to keep my brain active to focus on that and listen to her lecture at the same time. Many neurotypical people won't understand this. And when you try to explain it to them, they'll think you're making it up to get out of whatever thing they want you to focus on. Other neurodivergent people should understand this though. It's really, really important to listen to yourself and what you need rather than what others have told you or what is normal. If you have a choice, try to educate or avoid people who don't let you do things the way you need to do them to get them done. There are no set rules for how to do 99% of things. As long as you're not harming someone else in the process, do things your own way. You're not the same as everyone else in a good way, even though it can be challenging at times. So don't let everyone else dictate the way that you do things. It's so important to find what works for you. So here are some strategies to manage or cope with this. I recommend taking a week or two to observe yourself. Pay attention to how you do things and take notes, make a list of these things. And then you want to categorize the tasks that you're doing as singular focus or multi-focus tasks. Singular focus tasks feel like torture or are impossible to do when there are other distractions. And note that these distractions can be in your environment or in your own brain. Multi-focus tasks feel like torture or are impossible to do when you don't have other things to focus on or distract yourself while you do them. For these types of tasks, you may also want to note which activities to pair with these tasks. For example, I like to watch YouTube videos on my phone in the shower, and I listen to audiobooks and take notes on my phone when I go for walks. Because of the way I like to do these tasks, I don't listen to audiobooks in the shower and I don't watch YouTube videos while I'm on walks. These are really important distinctions. Once you have this information, then you can review the list and make adjustments in your life. For singular focused tasks, set yourself up for success. Make sure you're in the right headspace and environment to get them done. Are you wearing comfortable clothes? Is the room at the right temperature? Are the lights on or off? Do you need headphones or earplugs? Do you have the necessary 1 to 3 beverages within arm's reach? Have you removed distractions from your environment and brain and met your sensory needs? All of these things are going to come into play when you have something that you need to singularly focus on. For multi-focus tasks, how you do these things will vary depending on the day, your energy level, and the kind of task. Most days, you want to make sure you have 2 to 4 things that you can move your focus between. And remember that thinking counts as a task. So make sure you have space for that too if you need it. Some days, you may need to be watching a show, cooking, and cleaning in order to get the kitchen clean. Other days, you might need to hyper-focus on cleaning while deep in thought to work through something that's on your mind. It will all depend, so be flexible and be kind to yourself. Once you start paying attention and doing things your own way, this will get much easier to differentiate what you need when. The second topic is structure and impulsivity. So ASD needs the same structure and routine and carefully plans things before they happen. ADHD needs new and exciting routines. We're easily bored and make impulsive decisions, plans, and purchases. So for me, I find this one particularly challenging because those needs are often very in conflict with each other. I'll settle into a routine that I like and it's working, then a strong desire for something completely new comes on and I want to change everything. Please tell me I'm not the only one. So there have been times when I've acted spontaneously on making these desired changes, and then my ASD brain freaks out. Suddenly, a change I made intentionally becomes impossible to cope with. It's especially hard to cope when you make a decision that throws your life into a tailspin, but you didn't know it would. And it's really hard for your loved ones to come to terms with that as well, because they'll tell you, well, this is what you wanted. This is a decision that you made. And you're like, I know, but I can't handle it. I thought I could and I can't. So people with ASD often have a preference for consistency and things we know we like because new things can be overstimulating or difficult to cope with emotionally. And for that reason, we have a strong preference for sameness. Consistency helps us stay regulated. But when you also have ADHD, you have a desire for newness and excitement and adventure. Got to get that dopamine. So it's really important to meet your needs for both. How can we do that? The best way I've found to cope with this is to plan spontaneity, newness, and change and build it into your routine. Yes, it sounds counterintuitive, but your ADHD brain will get into it all the same, and it's also super necessary. I've found I make those spontaneous changes when I haven't built enough newness into my routine. So that debilitating spontaneity is what we're trying to avoid. By building newness, excitement, and adventure into your routine, both sides can get what they need. I'll give you an example. I like to hike, and I try to include this in my routine 1 to 2 times per week. Hiking is the perfect combination of sameness for ASD and newness for ADHD. I can prepare for varying conditions on the trail, and for the most part, I know what to expect. At the same time, each hike and trail is different and a new adventure. You may not like hiking, but you can find other things that you enjoy that provide a consistent enough experience and also something new every time. Try making a list of those things and building them into your regular routine and see if it reduces the amount of spontaneous changes that you make. Another way to cope with this is to have routines and structure around specific tasks, but avoid a strict daily routine. I like to have more fluidity in my day-to-day. I don't enjoy rigid, structured routines. It doesn't provide enough variety for my ADHD brain, and it makes me feel trapped. Also, some days I have more energy than others, so having a strict routine sets me up for failure. Instead, I prefer to have routine and structure around how I do things, but flexibility around when they get done. This allows me to plan my days based on how much energy I have, provides more variety, and still satisfies my need for structure. So if you haven't tried this, but you have the ability to, try to set more structure around how you do things and less around when they get done. The next thing is interests. ASD often has intense knowledge and focus on a few interests, but ADHD quickly changes interests and hyperfixations. Here's the thing, special interests and hyperfixations look different for everyone. Some people have specific interests and dive deep into that topic or subject, and other people's special interests are more broad and span many subjects. And some people have more fixed interests and others change over time. With closer examination, you may find that you have some combination of both. For me, my special interests tend to be broader subjects like business, psychology, and human behavior, but then I also have deeper interests in a range of specific topics within those subjects. Learning is also a special interest of mine. So it doesn't really matter what the topic or the subject is. If it's weird or sparks curiosity and I can learn something new, I'm usually into it. So you may be like me, where there are a few subjects that I know a lot about and many subjects that I know a little bit about. I have my primary lanes, but I also often veer into others. What are some strategies to manage and cope with this? Give yourself a lot of grace and remove the pressure to fit into a certain box. Whatever you like, go with it. It doesn't matter if your interests fall within one topic or many. It doesn't matter if you're consistent or if your interests change often. Who cares? If you pick up a new hobby, get super into it for a period of time, and then put it down and move on to something else, that's okay. That doesn't mean you can never pick it up again. Despite what other people have told you, you can be a little more fluid here. You don't have to have a thing or fit into a specific box. You can find a middle ground if that's what you want or not. It's up to you. Something that's really helped me is once I know something is a tendency of mine, it's easier for me to gain control over it. Both ADHD and ASD tend to have all or nothing thinking. Sometimes this is a good thing, but sometimes it isn't. Because I know my tendency, but I don't always agree with it, I can look out for it. And I can choose if I agree with that thinking or not. Society always wants to put us in a box and slap on a label. Other people create pressure for us to find our own box and label because it helps them understand us. But when you're the type of person who doesn't fit into a box, that's not really beneficial to us at all. And that pressure can be harmful to our self-esteem. So I reject that. We can understand ourselves without having to fit into a box. And it doesn't matter if other people understand us or not. You don't have to stay in one box. You can jump from box to box. You can rearrange your boxes anytime you want. Perspective is everything here. Allow yourself to dance to the beat of your own drum. It's okay if other people don't understand you. It's also okay if you don't understand you all the time. Do the things you enjoy. It's that simple. So in conclusion, understanding what you need when you need it is a skill and it takes practice. Many people struggle with this, not only people with ADHD and autism. Yet, it can be especially difficult for those of us who do have both when our needs are conflicting. And they often vary depending on the specific situation, environment, or circumstance. Please give yourself some grace here. You're human and humaning is hard, but you're doing a great job. You're probably doing way better than you think you are. Whenever I'm struggling, I find it helpful to think of myself as a scientist or a detective. Rather than immediately judging or being critical of myself, I tell myself that I need to learn more, I need to research or investigate, and I give myself time to do that. I ask myself questions, I pay more attention to myself and how I feel, and I make observations that I use as data points. Then I use that information to figure out what I need to adjust or change to make it work for me, or not do that thing at all. You might struggle with something, but that doesn't mean there's a problem or something that you need to fix. Part of the beauty of life is there's no right way to do it. There's no instruction manual you have to follow. Outside of not breaking the law, you can live your life however you want. I really like this quote from the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He says, just do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. So find what works for you, and as long as you're doing the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. On that note, if you want to make your life easier with ADHD or autism, check out this video where I talk about 3 strategies for self-support.